everyone, welcome back to Code with Poonam. It's day 91 of our 100 days of coding challenge in JavaScript. Today's challenge is all about to find the length of the longest string value in an object. So let's proceed to this challenge and we will move towards our VS Code. If we see in the VS Code, we have here our question along with the sample input and output, right? So what is the question? We have to write the JavaScript function to calculate the length of the longest string value in an object. And here they have provided the 3 test cases, right? Now we will come down and we are going to break our question. So what we have to write first, we have to write a JavaScript function, right? So we will take this and we are going to put it over here. After that, what is the next important part from this question? That we have to calculate the length of the longest string value in an object, right? So that also I will take here and I'm going to put it over here. Now we will come to our line number 12 and we are going to define our function name. Now we have to find the length of the longest string value. So we will come here and we are going to define our function name as what? Find, okay, longest string length, okay. This will be our function name. So let us make this L as capital and we will remove this space as well and we will make this S capital, okay. And let us put it here parenthesis. So this will be our function name, find longest string length, okay. Now we will come here and we will understand how we are reaching to the each of the output with respect to our input. So let us take our first input object and we will just put it over here, okay. Now what is our first input object? It is nothing but A colon apple, B colon banana, C colon kiwi and D colon grapefruit, right? Now we will come down and we are going to extract all the values from this object. Why? Because we have to calculate the length of the longest string value in an object, right? So that is why I will take out all the values of this object. So what is the first value? We have apple, right? After that, what we have? We have banana, correct? So that also I'm going to put it over here. After that, what we have? We have kiwi, correct? So that also let us put it over here. After that, what we have? We have here grapefruit, correct? So that also I'm going to put it over here. Now, after this, what we are going to do? We are going to calculate the length of our each values, okay? So what will be our apple length? It is nothing but our 5, right? What is our banana length? It is nothing but 6. So that also I'm going to write it over here. What is our kiwi length? It is nothing but 4, right? After that, what is our grapefruit length? It will be 10, correct? Now we have calculated here each of the values length and we can easily see that 10 is the greatest length, right? And that is why grapefruit is our longest string. And that is where we are going to get here output as what? 10, because we have to get the length, right? So that is why we are getting the output as what? Here as a 10, okay? Now let us consider our next input object. So this is our next input object. So I will put it over here, okay? Now from this, we are going to extract the values, correct? So we will write here what? Elephant, okay? After that, we are going to write our giraffe. So that also I'm going to write it over here. After that, what we have? We have hippopotamus, right? So that also let us put it over here. Now what we are going to do? We are going to calculate the length, right? So what is the elephant length? It is nothing but 8. What is our giraffe length? It is nothing but 7, correct? And what is our hippopotamus length? It is nothing but 12, okay? Now from here also we can easily see that 12 is the greatest one, right? So that is why here we get the output as what? 12, okay? Now let us take our third input object. So I will just take this and I'm going to put it over here, okay? Now what is our input object? We have M colon short, N colon tiny, O colon lengthy word and P colon word, right? So now from this we will extract our values, right? So what we will have? We will have here what? Short, correct? After that, what we will have? We will have our tiny. After that, what we will have? Lengthy word, correct? So that also let us take and put it over here. After that, what we will have? We will have our word, right? Now, after this, we are going to calculate the length of our each of the value, right? So what will be the short length? It is nothing but 5, okay? What is our tiny length? It is nothing but 4. And then we have here lengthy word, that is nothing but the length is what? 11. And after that we have your word, that length is also 4, correct? So that is what we are going to write it over here. Now from this also we can easily see that 11 is having the greatest length. That means lengthyword is the longest string. And what is the length? It is nothing but 11. And that is where we get here output as what? 11. Okay. Now we have understood, right, how we are reaching to the each of our output, correct, with respect to our each of the input. Now on the basis of this, we are going to write our approach. Okay. So I will just write here what? Approach. So let me write here approach. Now in this question, first of all, what we have to do, we have to extract our object values, right? So I will write it over here, what? Extract the values. So for that, what method we are going to use it? We will be using our object.values method, correct? Now what does this method does? This method returns an array, right? So I'll just write here what? This method returns an array of the values, correct, of the particular object. So that is what I am writing it over here. Now how we are going to use this? Suppose this is our object, correct? So I will take this first object and I will come down and I'm going to put it over here. So I will write here what? Our obj is equal to this particular object, and now we will use our object.values method. So let us write it over here, object.values method, and to this we are going to pass our obj. So what is the output we are going to get? We will get an output of the values, right, in an array form. So let us write it over here. So first I am going to get this apple. So I will put this over here, okay. After that, what I am going to get? I will get this banana. So that also I'll put it over here. After that, what I will get? I will be getting kiwi. So that also I'm going to put it over here. Okay, so let us put it over here. After that, what we are going to get? Our grapefruit. Okay, so that also I'm going to put it over here. So this is the output which we are going to get after using our object.values method. Okay, so this is what is the output we are getting after we use our object.values method. Okay, now what we have to check from this particular array, whatever the elements we have, it should be a string, right? So we have to check here what? Our each element. Okay, I'll write it over here. Our each element, we will have to check it for a string. Okay, and for that we are going to use our filter method. Okay, now what does this filter method does? This filter method creates a new array with the elements that passes the test provided by the test function. Okay, so what we are going to write it here? If I have to write the syntax, we will write here what? Our arr dot filter, and to this we are going to pass our callback function, right? Now this callback function needs a condition, right? So I will write here what? Condition. And if this condition passes out, then what we are going to get? We will get our true values, that also in an array, correct? So that is what will be our output. Okay. So now if in this context I have to write, what I will do? First of all, I am going to store this inside a variable. Okay. So the variable name, I will keep it as what? Obj values. Okay. And now if I come here, I am going to write here what? Our obj values dot filter method. I am going to write it. And here it will take a callback function, right? And here it will be what? Element. Okay. Now what we have to check here, that it should be a string. So what will be the condition? We have to write here condition as type of element should be is equal to string. That is what we are going to write it over here. And if this is equal to string, then we will get our output as what? We will get the output as all of them, because right now in this case, all of them is what? It is nothing but a string, right? So I will get this particular output in this case. Suppose if I had a number here somewhere, then I would not have got that number. Right now, when it tested, it passes out for each of the element. Now that test case, we will pass it separately when we write our function. Okay. So this is what we are going to get it when we are going to use our filter method. Okay. Now after this, what we have to do? We have to calculate the length of each element of this particular array. Okay. So for that, what we are going to use? We are going to use our map method and our length property also. Okay. So I am writing it over here. Now what does this map method do? This map method transforms the each element of an array using a callback function, and it returns a new array. So if I have to write a syntax, what I am going to write it? I will write here what? arr.map. And to this, I am going to write what? Our callback function. Okay. So what does this map method do? It is going to transform our each element, right? And then it is going to return me a new array. Okay. Now we will come down and we are going to write it with respect to this particular array. So what I will do, first of all, I am going to store inside a variable called as a string values. Okay. So let us take this variable name string values, and here I am going to write it dot map. Okay. And to this I am going to pass our callback function. And then we will pass here what, our element. Okay. And then what I am going to write it, element dot length I am going to write it. So this will give me what, the length of our each element. Okay. So what will be the output we are going to get? We will get the output as what, 5 comma 6 comma 4 comma 10, right? That is what we have written here, right? It was nothing but 5 comma 6 comma 4 comma 10, right? So this is what we are going to get it if we are using our map method along with this length property. Okay. So now we have got this output, right? Now after this, what we will do, we will find the maximum length from this. Okay. So I will just write here what, find the maximum length from this. So how can we get this? So for that, we are going to use our Math.max method. Okay. And along with that, we will be using our spread operator. Okay. So I will write here what, spread operator. Now, what does our Math.max method returns? It is going to return the largest number from the provided number or the array, correct? And if we are using an array, then we will have to use what, our spread operator, so that we can pass an array as an individual arguments. Okay. So how we are going to write it here? So we will be writing here what, our Math.max, correct? And to that, we are going to pass here our spread operator, and then we will pass this particular array, right? So that is what we are going to put it over here. And from this, then what output we are going to get here? We are going to get 10. So that is nothing but our max length, right? So that is what it is going to give. And then finally, we will get our desired output. If you go above, you can see this was the maximum length. So that is where it is the length of the longest string, right? So that is what we have done. And this is our final approach, which we are going to write it. Okay. So let us implement the same approach inside our function also. So let us write here what, function, and what will be our function name? Find longest string length. Okay. And let us invoke it quickly. So I will invoke it here like this, find longest string length, and to this we are going to pass our first input object. So let us take this object and we will come down and we are going to pass it over here. Okay. And let us receive here as an obj. Okay. Now let us just console it out. So I will write here what, console.log of obj, and let us see what do we get in the terminal. So we will write here what, node 91 challenge, and hit enter. If you see, we are getting our input object, right? Now after that, what we have to do, we have to extract the values, right? So for that, what we will do, we will declare a variable called as a what, let obj values is equal to, we are going to use our Object.values method, correct? So I will write it over here, Object.values, and to that we are going to pass our obj. So let us just console it out. So console.log of what, obj values. So now once again test it in the terminal. So I will write here what, node 91 challenge, and hit enter. If you see, we got the values, right? And we are getting in an array form. If you check it from here, we are getting the exact output, right? Now, what is the next thing? We have to check that our each element is a string or not, right? So we will come down and we will do that by using our filter method, right? So what I am going to do, first of all, I am going to declare a variable called as a let string values is equal to, and we will write here what, obj values dot filter I will write, and to that we are going to pass our callback function, and we will write here what, element, and then we are going to write here type of, correct? And then element should be is equal to string, correct? And now we will just console it out one more time, our string value. So I will write here what, console.log of string values, and now let us test it in the terminal. So I will just clear the terminal and I'm going to write here what, node 91 challenge, and hit enter. If you see, we are getting the same output as the previous obj values, right? Why? Because here, if you see, for each of the element, it is passing the test, right? So that is why we are getting the same output, okay? After that, what we have to do, we have to calculate the length, right, of the each element. So for that, we are going to use our map method and the length property, right? So let us come down and declare a variable here one more time. So I will write here what? Let string length I am going to write it, okay? So I will write here what? Let string length is equal to, we will use this string values dot map, and to that we are going to pass our callback function, and we will write here what? Element, and we will write here element dot length, okay? Now let us once again test it out. So I will write here what? Console dot log of string length, okay? And now let us just test it in the terminal. So I'll write here what? Node 91 challenge and hit enter. If you see, we are getting here 5, 6, 4, and 10, right? That is what we have written, correct? So now after that, what we have to do, we have to find our max length, right? So for that, we are going to use our Math.max method along with our spread operator. So for that, we will come here and we will declare a variable called as what? Longest length. So let us write here, let longest length is equal to Math.max. We are going to write it. And to that, we are going to pass our spread operator and our array. So that is nothing but our string length, right? And let us console it out. So I will write here what? Console.log of longest length, okay? Now let us come to the terminal, clear the terminal and run it. So I will write here what? Node 91 challenge and hit enter. If you see, we are getting here 10, right? So that is our first output we are able to get it, correct? Now what we will do, we will take the second input object and we are going to invoke it one more time. So I will write here what? Find longest string length, correct? And to this, let us pass our another input object, save it and clear the terminal and rerun it. So node 91 challenge and hit enter. If you see, I am getting this 12 as well, right? So if you test it above, we have got here 12, right? Now let us test it for the third input object. So I will take this input object and we will come down and we will invoke it one more time. So I will write here what? Find longest string length and we will pass it and we will just test it one more time. So I will write here what? Node 91 challenge and hit enter. If you see, we are getting our 11 also as an output. So we can test it above. It is exactly the same, right? Now we are going to invoke it one more time. So I will write here what? Find longest string length, and to this we are going to pass an object and which will have a value mix of our numbers and a string. So I will write here what? A colon 75. Then I'll write here B colon hair, okay? And then I will write here comma and I'm going to write here C colon shoes. I will write it and I will write here D colon 100, okay? Now let us see what do we get in the output. So first of all, let us clear the terminal and I'm going to rerun it. So I will write here what? Node 91 challenge and hit enter. Now let us check for the last input object. So what we are getting here, see, you can see we are getting here all the values, right? After that, our filter method is working very properly. You can see here that it is filtering it out only the string value, right? So we have here our hair and shoes, right? And after that, what we are getting here the exact output as 5. So it has calculated the maximum length from it, right? And we are getting here as 5, right? So that means it is able to justify our logic with respect to this input object also, right? So that is what we have done. Now we have got our exact output, right? So now what we will do, we will come here and we will comment out the console.log statement. So I'll comment this out. I will comment this out. And this as well, we are going to comment it. Line number 67 also commented. And let us save it one more time. And we will clear the terminal. And I am going to write here node 91 challenge and hit enter. And let us see what do we get. So we get here our exact output, right? So 10, 12, 11 and 5 we are getting it, right? So 5 is for the last input object, okay? So we have got here our exact output. Now let us have a quick recap of this particular question. So let us go above and let us read out the question. So we we have to write a JavaScript function to calculate the length of the longest string value in an object. Okay. And here they provided us the 3 test cases, right? And then we came at line number 12 and 13 and we wrote here our important part of the question. And also we defined our function name as what? Find longest string length. Okay. And then we came down and we understood with respect to each of our input object how we are reaching to the output, right? And on the basis of that we wrote our approach, right? So what was our approach? So first of all, in the approach we wrote here what? Extract values, right? How can we extract the values? By using our object.values method, correct? So what it is going to return? It is going to return an array of the values of our object, right? And that is what we have got it over here. After that, what we did, we used a filter method. Why we need a filter method? Because we wanted to check that our each element of our array should be a string, right? So for that we used our filter method, correct? So what does this filter method is going to do? It is going to create a new array with the elements that passes the test provided by our callback function, correct? So we wrote here our condition as what? Type of element should be is equal to string, right? And that is where we got our output for this particular input object, correct? After that, what we did, we came here and we calculated the length of our each element of this particular array, right? So for that we used our map method along with our length property, right? So how we wrote our map method? Here we passed a callback function. So what does this map method is going to do? It is going to transform an array and it is going to return a new array, correct? That is what we have written, and we wrote here our map method, right? And we used here in that our length property also, and we got here our exact output, correct? After that, what we did, we had to find out the maximum length from this particular array, right? So for that, we used our Math.max method using our spread operator. And we wrote here what? Our Math.max with a triple dot, and we passed our array, correct? So what it is going to do, our Math.max method returns the largest number from the provided number or the array, right? And using a spread operator over here to pass an array as an individual arguments, correct? And that is where we got our final output, right? And we got here our as what? Our max length, correct? Then we came down at line number 57 and we wrote our function and we were receiving here obj as our input object, right? Then at line number 58, we just consoled it, right? Then at line number 60, we extracted the values, right, of our object and we consoled it as well. After that, what we did, we just tested that our each element of this obj values is a string or not, correct? And then we consoled that as well and we tested that as well, correct? After that, we calculated the length of our each element by using our map method and our length property, and that also we tested here, correct? And after that, we found out the max length from that particular array, right? And for that, we use our Math.max method and we used along with a spread operator. Then we found out here what? Our max length, right? And for that, we use our Math.max method, and in that we were passing our spread operator along with the array. So why we used a spread operator? Because we can pass an array as an individual arguments, right? For that we have done, and finally we consoled our longest length, right? Then from line number 72 to 76, we invoked this function 4 times, right? With 4 different input objects, correct? And we got our exact output, right? So we can clear the terminal and we can test it one more time. So I can write here what? Node 91 challenge and hit enter. If you see, you are going to get your exact output, right? So that is what our question was demanding, and we have done the same thing, okay? Now I will tell you guys why this challenge is important, because it improves an understanding of object.values method, filter method, map method, and Math.max method also. It also teaches us how to manipulate and process the string data in objects effectively. Also, it helps us with the practical data processing and interview preparation scenario. So that's all guys for today. Keep coding and keep improving your JavaScript skills. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe and hit the notification bell for more daily challenges. And I will see you tomorrow with another exciting challenge. So thank you so much guys. Take care. Bye-bye.